Hello, this is Lecture 3, What are Psychedelics? The term psychedelic is derived from the Greek words for psyche and to manifest, and is therefore translated as mind manifesting. A psychedelic substance is psychoactive when it alters cognition or perception. Psychedelics are part of a wider class of psychoactive drugs known as hallucinogens, which also include related substances such as dissociatives and deliriants. For purposes of this course, I am defining psychedelics as plant-based materials that trigger primary spiritual experience and that enhance consciousness and the capacity for compassion. This does not generally include cocaine, ketamine, heroin, methamphetamine, uppers and downers, and the multiplicity of other consciousness-constricting drugs. While in our society, psychedelics are regarded as drugs, in many other cultures around the world and throughout history, these substances have been used as sacred instruments for deep spiritual work. To further define the materials we are interested in looking at in relation to Buddhism, we can use the term entheogens, agents that bring one in touch with the divine within. The poet Dale Pendell calls them zentheogens. Psychedelics have a long history of use for spiritual purposes around the world. As writer Daniel Pinchbeck recounts in his book Breaking Open the Head, among shamanic tribal cultures, plants that induce visions are the center of spiritual life and tradition. Tribes in Africa, Siberia, South and North America, and elsewhere believe that these plants are sentient beings, supernatural emissaries. They ascribe their music, medicine, cosmology, and even their extensive botanical knowledge to the visions given to them in psychedelic trance. For tribes in Africa, Siberia, North and South America, and many other regions, rejection of the visionary knowledge offered by the botanical world would be a form of insanity. The psychological effects of psychedelics have been studied scientifically over the past 50 years. Because psychedelics work in the subjective domain of consciousness, intent has an enormous but not always controlling influence over the experience. For therapeutic purposes, psychedelics are generally used either one time with much preparation and a single high dose, or in smaller doses over weekly or monthly period intervals interspersed with talk therapy. According to psychologist Neil Goldsmith, the use of psychedelics in the therapeutic setting have been shown to be useful in facilitating transference and in bringing repressed childhood memories to the surface. Psychedelics have been shown to be useful in treating a variety of disorders, including alcoholism, substance abuse and addiction, criminal recidivism, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, end-stage cancer psychotherapy. After a hiatus due to the post-60s drug scare, the U.S. federal government resumed approving human subject research with psychedelics about 1990. Goldsmith has compiled a list of lessons related to therapeutic psychedelic use. Each drug has a specific range of effects, although there is variance depending on the individual. Setting can be a very strong constraint and influence outcome. Mindset can scuttle a beautiful context or transcend a hellish one. In general, doses can determine whether it is a mild or extreme experience, although it is often less important than setting and mindset. Preparation, expectations, and knowledge can enable lasting value. Ritual can transmit prior wisdom and guide successful practice. Support from experienced guides reduces fear and increases benefit. Re-entry to a supportive socio-cultural community context helps retention. Accompanying depth psychotherapy, if needed, and ongoing spiritual practice offer the main opportunity for lasting growth. A revised worldview is both a requirement for and a result of integrated psychedelic practice. It is useful to keep in mind that all states of consciousness are associated with the so-called chemical actions and reactions from within the body and outside the body. Entheogens, food, medicine, air, water, all are associated with organic chemistry as a universal science in relation to human biology. As human beings evolve, it is hard to make the argument against their reaching back into their own psychobiological systems to facilitate experiences that can be contributive to further growth and maturity. This is, after all, similar to the role that medicine plays in terms of general health. Most people are comfortable taking commercial pharmaceuticals of all kinds that act on the body and the mind in profound ways, so it's curious that the hesitation to using entheogens is more on the basis that they may be inconsistent with their moral or spiritual traditions, as opposed to the fact that they do not generally have the rigorous modern testing and regularity of use that conventional agents do. Factors bringing about a relaxation of institutional opposition to appropriate psychedelic use include budgetary considerations, the promise of capturing income from taxes on the sale of these materials, and documented success with them medicinally. It may be the fact that these materials can bring about radical spiritual effects is more of an unattractive byproduct than a draw in terms of governments and large institutions. It is fair to say that another factor, what I would call a quiet revolution, is now underway in terms of the knowledge and use of entheogens in our culture. In the 8 years since Zigzag Zen was published, I have noticed that familiarity with ayahuasca, for example, has exploded. I wrote about my experience with it at a time when few people were aware of its existence, and now it is rare to find a reasonably informed person who has not heard of it. Ayahuasca is an interesting example because it is a true entheogen. It's inappropriate for recreational use, and it involves purging both emotionally and physically. It does not lend itself to abuse. Party drugs can come into vogue quickly, but ayahuasca does not fit that description in the least. As more people become aware of these resources and have their own experiences, it'll be more difficult to exclude them from the myriad tools we have available to aid our spiritual growth. And the need for spiritual growth is now unarguably more related than ever to the very question of whether human life will continue to thrive. Thank you.